Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent.
And I'm Tia Graham. ShotStoppers is Detroit's most prized crime reduction program. For a little over a year, the Community Intervention Violence Project has helped stop violence before it happens. The numbers speak loudly. By the end of 2024, Detroit had 203 homicides, its lowest number recorded since 1965. And last October, the city also had a 45% drop in homicides in areas where ShotStoppers was implemented. That's compared to an 18% drop in places without it.
Yeah, Tia, but ShotStoppers may not continue beyond this year. The program rests on federal American Rescue Plan Act dollars, which are evaporating, and state Democrats missed an opportunity to fund ShotStoppers programs in Detroit and in other Michigan cities well into the future during their lame duck session. So many Detroiters are concerned about the program ending, and they're not alone. The Detroit Police Department is too, and that agency has been working to get ShotStoppers sustained funding. Metro producer Sam Corey sat down with interim Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison to learn more about the program.
Why is ShotStoppers so effective?
Because of credible messengers, is individuals that have influence with the population that typically drives violence. And when you think about it, people are only influenced by people that they respect and also by individuals that understand or been through what they've been through. And so with our ShotStoppers group, actually the name even came from the community itself. And so we have groups like Detroit 300, New Era Detroit, Detroit Friends and Families, and others who have been out there for years to be a mediator between conflict and beef. And so when the American Rescue Plan Act dollars became available, it was an opportunity for the city, for government, Mayor Duggan supported it, to actually be able to fund individuals and organizations that have been helping the Detroit Police Department over the years that really had no funding.
One of the things you're talking about is that the leaders of the program say they trust the police and that they've built trust with police officers. How helpful is it to have that trust between community leaders and police officers? What does that do practically for officers in the field?
It saves lives, because when you have trust in the community, you can actually keep a situation from happening. And we know that when a situation is active and when that first shot is fired and it hits someone, it's going to be a response from law enforcement. It's going to be a response from family members wanting to retaliate. And when bullets fly, we never know where they're going to land. And so by preventing these situations from ever happening, we actually prevent the negative cascading consequences, and you reduce that incident, but you reduce further down line other retaliatory type crimes. And so the community trust is key, because we really do trust each other. We built that relationship, and they can go places that police can't go, and we're able to really inspire young people and get them out the life of crime and violence.
Does it take some of the pressure off of officers to try to prevent things from happening on the front end and instead do more investigative work? Does it alleviate some of the pressure of all the things that police officers are tasked with doing?
Yes, it does. When you have fewer homicides, then with our homicide detectives and with our detectives that work in the precincts, they have more time to thoroughly investigate the cases that are before them. And so it gives them a chance to really catch their breath, take their time, and just really do that deep dive. But if you're just being bombarded case after case after case, it wears them out.
So tell me, what would it mean if the program doesn't get funding that it really needs? What would that mean for residents, and what would that mean for police officers?
Well, if it doesn't get funded, funding will run out because it's funded right now with the American Rescue Plan Act dollars, and that has an expiration date. So at the end of 2025, I will no longer be able to fund the tremendous work that these groups are doing. And so now one of the things that we, the mayor and others, are looking to do is get House Bill 4606, 4605 passed, and that's the Public Safety Trust. I'm working with State House Speaker Matt Hall right now and some of the other Democrats and Republicans, because for me, I'm issue-based. I just need to get this because, bipartisan, just being able to make sure that we enhance public safety across not just the city of Detroit, but the entire state of Michigan.
You're listening to The Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. I'm producer Sam Corey, speaking with Todd Bettison, the interim Detroit Chief of Police. We're discussing the ShotStoppers program, a community-led program which has helped reduce violence and which may lose funding sometime this year. Chief Bettison, you advocated for more funding, as you were talking about, from lawmakers in Lansing for ShotStoppers. What happened from your perspective? Why didn't these bills pass during lame duck before Democrats lost the majority in the state house?
Well, I really don't want to speculate too much. We all know what happened. The House side, it just basically, I'll just say it imploded. Everything got shut down. So this bill didn't pass, and none of their other bills passed either. So it was an interesting, the most unique lame duck we've ever seen when it comes to the House of Representatives, and I'll just leave it at that.
Should focus on the places that have high crime and try something different. That feels like a different approach to fighting crime than what we had in the 90s and 2000s, where police are more focused on building relations with the community. They're more focused on targeting high crime areas, but not necessarily arresting people, but trying to understand the roots of violence and violent activity. What do you make of Deputy Franklin Hayes' statement?
He's accurate. Deputy Chief Hayes is spot on. Former Chief of Police James White used to frequently say the same thing, and I believe it at my core. I know it's true. You think about states that have high incarceration rates, individuals who get long prison sentences, they still, even though they're locking people up and throwing away the key, you still got a line of individuals that are still committing violent crime. You don't see lower crime rates. You just see more and more people getting incarcerated. So we have a cultural issue where we have to really inspire hope amongst the population that is actually committing those type of violent crimes. When individuals don't have hope or opportunity and really see another way out, then it's a cycle of violence that just continued.
Chief Bettison, how much, you said culture, and I hear you there, and I guess you sort of alluded to this, but I want to draw it out. How much of it is simply material? I mean, these community violence intervention programs are giving people money to try to stop violence before it happens. These areas are certainly higher in terms of poverty. How much of this is just a lack of material, lack of opportunity to move up the economic ladder?
Yeah, that's a part of it, but it's still culture as well. You have to inspire individuals and show them that they can fit into a legitimate and make it as far as doing things that are not street-based. I know this for a fact. I mean, I've actually, as chief of police, and when I was deputy mayor a couple of years ago, I actually took a prison tour in Louisiana. I went to 3 prisons. I talked to individuals on the inside who were locked up. And the state of Louisiana has some of the highest incarceration rates, and they also have very, very harsh penalties. But you think about New Orleans, you think about Baton Rouge, you think about those other places, they're still very violent cities. And so locking people up, just throwing away the key, doesn't work. And because it hasn't lowered the crime. So you have to do something else. And I actually asked the population that was locked up for very violent crimes, what could I do? What would you do if you was deputy mayor? What would you do if you were police chief to save your little brother, your little sister? What would you do to stop the violence? And they said, yep, definitely get with the kids while they're younger. Before they actually come off the playground, and start going into high school, you have to inspire and get with them, give them programming, giving them something to do, because oftentimes once they get to high school, it can be too late because they've already joined the gang. And it's not just about money, it's about a sense of belonging. So what I'm saying, these CBI groups, these influencers, they're able to inspire the young people and give them that sense of belonging and put them on the right path, rather than having somebody who's on the wrong path, who's in a gang, engaged in violence, selling drugs, inspire them to go that path. We really have to make it okay and really cool and popular to do the right thing, because at the end of the day, children and people want to be socially accepted.
This does lead me to my next question, which is, I know you have to deal with violence in the now and stopping violence and harm right now, which is a very tall task. I do wonder, in terms of long-term programs, because you do think a lot about stopping violence before it happens down the road, what kind of programs do you want the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, even the federal government to be investing in to stop violence decades into the future?
So I'm an and person. That is my favorite word. Everyone around here knows that I'm A-N-D, not or, not this or that, but and. And so because violence doesn't have one thing that drives it, is definitely complicated. So we have to add layers there. And so I'm dealing with stopping crime before it happens, deterring crime, preventing crime. But I know that we do have violent predators out there that need to be addressed right now. And so we utilize technology. One of the things that we have in the city of Detroit is our Green Light program, where we have the public-private partnership with businesses that pumps into our real-time crime center, where we have cameras where we can see, it's recorded, and we're able to identify the exact who did what so that we can apprehend them.
I am asking you a little bit to imagine, if you're in charge of the state legislature, to invest in certain programs, be it education, healthcare, jobs, what have you. I'm curious which things you would think would help reduce crime the most, again, decades into the future.
Really, education. Education. We have an educational crisis in this country. And so when I have individuals that can't read, then they can't compete. And then when I talk about the sense of hopelessness, when you can't read, you don't see yourself or imagine yourself in the future, and your options are so limited, and you're embarrassed. So oftentimes they don't have much of an option but in order to support their families and in order to try to get these professional positions, or they can't even get into a factory if you can't read. And we got a large percentage of our population that can't read. If you look at where Michigan ranks when it comes to our children being able to read, we got a serious problem. And so I would say that we have to, as a community, as a country, and as a state, deal with our educational crisis that's occurring here. Otherwise, we have a population of young people that we've let down.
Before I let you go, Mayor Mike Duggan has recommended that you become the permanent police chief. It will still take approval from City Council, but it looks like this will be the likely outcome. This is a very hard job to hold, as you know, Chief Bettison. There's a lot of pressure to both defend your officers in the field and also appropriately hold them accountable when they stray or when they do wrong. How do you thread that needle? What is that sort of sense of stable leadership look like to you?
I've been doing it a long time, grew up in an organization, and I hold myself accountable, and I will hold officers accountable. Officers that wear the badge, we take an oath, and our oath is to protect and serve and to not tarnish that badge. And good officers that take that oath seriously, when it comes to corruption and officers violating the oath, I have no tolerance for that. So I just wanted to be crystal clear when it comes to that. But I do support my officers 100%. And so as long as they're not nefarious, and if they make an honest mistake, I'm going to stand behind them. You know, if they're out there trying to do good, nobody's perfect. We don't always get it right, but it's about your intent and it's about your heart.
That was Metro producer Sam Corey speaking with interim Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison about the future of a community violence intervention program that's had a big impact on safety in Detroit.
Coming up at 11, local news is under pressure. Could artificial intelligence make it stronger for the future, or will it be its downfall? Or maybe somewhere in between? You tell us. The number is 313-577-1019.
Up next, Detroit's musical legacy is a point of pride for many of us. And today, we're going to trace some of its gospel roots. We'll be right back here on the Metro. You all stay right there.